Hi, everyone. My name is Lynette Davis with LynetteDavis.com, and I'm super delighted to have you here for this year's 2018 Be the Change series. As you know, I do this series every year to celebrate my birthday month, which is August. And,
Yay!
and I also have another guest here who I'm going to introduce in a moment, whose birthday is also in August. So Team August birthdays. So as you know, I bring on some celebrated guests, celebrated to me, to come and share on a topic that's near and dear to my heart. So without further ado, I want to welcome Mim and Nancy from Global Women for Wellbeing. Welcome, ladies.
Hi,
everyone.
pleasure to be here.
Welcome, welcome. So I'll start with you, Mim, and then I'll turn the question over to you, Nancy. Sounds good?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So, Mim, can you tell me about GW4W as we know it, to, abbreviate it? Can you tell me about the work you do with GW4W?
I'd be happy to. So our mission is to empower more healthy female leadership at all levels for a more sustainable world. Big, giant, hairy goal. And the reason that we formed the organization is because, unfortunately, gender equity is going backwards, not forwards, according to the World Economic Forum. And so as an organization, we wanted to bring together cross-disciplinary experts from different ethnic backgrounds, geographical backgrounds, different professions, community leaders, to have a more integrated thinking process around how we solve for this. And so our pillars are getting research done, because we figured out that if we don't understand where the gaps are and where the opportunities are to make those connections, we can't really solve for this. But that research has to be turned into real action steps that are things that companies can truly implement. We know often research gets done, but not necessarily translates into something that the average company or community can do. But in addition to that, we need a network of leaders that buy into this, understand the need for it, and have the authority or the power or the passion or all three to push this down through an organization. So it's also leaders reaching down and pulling up. And then our fourth pillar is about raising up women-owned and women-focused businesses. So it's an ecosystem. And we incorporated in 2016, and it has been a joy and a blessing to have so many amazing, amazing women and men join us from around the world. So I'll let Nancy take it from here and share a little bit more.
So the only thing I'll add, and first of all, I want to say to the audience, welcome everyone, and thanks so much, Lynn, for having us as part of this series. The only thing that I will add is that Mim and I have seen health and wellness and well-being from a corporate business standpoint for our careers. And we just got together and started talking one day about what was missing and a lot of the gaps that we saw, and not enough support for women in general. And so one thing led to another, and we realized that by coming together and sharing our experiences, that there were others that joined in and shared our same mission. And we realized that there was a big gap in organizations that supported women, but not really from a health and well-being standpoint. And so I know when I talk about GW4W, I always bring in our holistic health experience and our background and how important it is for us as women. So holistically, meaning not just our physical health, but our mental health, our ability to be resilient, all of the things that we do as women to take care of other people. How does that impact us overall? And so, as Mim said, we have met some amazing people that have joined us that understand our mission and that want to be part of it, including you, Lynn. And so we're grateful to have you on board. And we're just so excited because I think it's a concept that most everybody can understand and get their head around. And we just believe that we can do more good together. So that's one of our mottos. So you'll hear us say that.
Awesome. So you know what? Speaking of do more together, I'm going to make sure I say that right, because I always like, wait, is it do good now? Or so do more good together. Is that the correct phrase?
We actually say more good together.
More good together.
Simple, more good together.
So let's say I am somebody who is tuning into this Be the Change series because it's awesome.
Yes, it is.
And I am watching this and I'm like, okay, I want to do more good together. Why should I care about the issues that you're working to, bring systemic change to, compared to so many other different amazing causes? What is it about this particular cause that you think would really call to somebody's heart and want to be involved in?
I really like first that you use the word heart, because it ties into this idea of head, heart, hands leadership that we believe we need more of in the world. There are many organizations that focus on women in leadership, or they may be, again, great, women in law, Asian women in medicine. There's all these little silos that all do great work. UN Women, amazing work, obviously. But in order for us to truly make change for this next generation of women, we know scientifically, we know because of the numbers, that we have to start to look at this differently. And so we consider ourselves a connector organization, a place that allows both liberal and conservative voices. We believe that issues around pay equity and health equity and leadership equity are not political statements. They're human rights issues. And an example of that would be, for those that don't know this, that almost all health research has been done on men and male animals. So I'll repeat that. Almost all health research has been done on men and male animals. And that's a little scary, which means that you as a woman, and if you're a man listening to this, your wife, your daughter, your mother is not being treated the same way or equitably. And so why would that be okay? We want to address some of those issues together. And we believe, again, when you bring multiple voices, multiple disciplines together, we have a much better chance of making real positive change for women everywhere.
And if I could add to that, Lynette, I think why somebody would care or be called to do this is that it does impact her, and everybody has a her in their life, whether that's a sister, a daughter, a wife. We have different needs as women, and we all know that. And so it's easy to think about how and why women would get involved and see this, because we are focusing on real change and not just doing something for the sake of doing it. I think that's the feedback that we've gotten from a lot of the people that we've spoken to, and our members and our supporters, is because we're very action oriented and we're trying to make a difference, a real difference in the world. But again, for men and others who are interested in joining us, again, it's because it's to make the situation for women in general around health, well-being, and equity, to really see some change around that. And to not just wait another, how long is it, Mim? Another 100 years before we're ever going to see this?
More than 100 years, unfortunately. Yeah. I mean, that's it. That is the sad truth of where we are. And and I think, to your point, when women rise, and again, there's plenty of science to back this up, everybody wins, men and women. You have stronger economies. You have more resilient workforces. You are better collectively in doing creative problem solving around major issues. So there are huge benefits if we can take down some of the barriers so that the best of what women bring and the best of what men bring can come together. This is where this bigger picture of a more sustainable world for everyone can start to take shape.
Awesome. So I want to backtrack, because you mentioned something about connectivity. And then you also talked about different people who are coming on board and they are loving the mission and wanting to be a part of it. And I know that GW4W is a nonprofit, but the people who are coming on board, because you're talking about intersections of these different diverse fields, you're talking about conservatives and liberals and things of that nature. So my question is, how do we combine our superpowers as business owners and organizations such as yourself to really truly create impact in this world? Because I know that as a business owner, I'm busy, trying to do my work plus work on my business. Right. And I want to be involved. Now, in my case, I am involved with GW4W because I've made time for GW4W. But, there are other business owners who are like, yeah, I really want to get involved. And, it seems like sometimes they don't get involved with nonprofit organizations until a disaster strikes and it's
right
within their own family. And they're like, okay, let me throw some money at it. But right. there's more ways that we can be impactful. So how has what has this look like in terms of GW4W membership? Because I know that you are a membership type of site that's right. comprised of business owners coming to help you create this impact.
Yeah, and we should say it's not just business owners. It's we have students, we have community leaders, we have researchers. So people can get involved in a variety of ways. If you are a female leader, or you're an entrepreneur, or you're a leader in your organization, we'd love to hear your story. It's very impactful that if and we do ask for real stories. I think that is a difference with us. There's plenty of sugar-coated stories of, I went to Harvard and then I did this and then I got into this position. And you find that we do a really good job of asking our speakers to talk about what the challenges have been. So Kathy Hannon is a great example. So she's half Native American. She's also and she grew up on a reservation. And so how did this woman go from that environment to becoming a global managing director for KPMG? She is also the president of the board for the National Girl Scouts Association. And it was really wonderful to hear her speak for us in Chicago. Or Maureen Beal, who is the CEO of National Van Line. So a woman leading a male-oriented company in a male-oriented industry. And she was kind enough to share the story of walking into the National Transportation Organization and being the only woman in the room as a leader. And so we feel that part of giving back to help this next generation is to share the real stories. Certainly financially supporting the research and being involved and aligning your brand with a brand that is truly making positive change can be helpful for your business. If you're a smaller business, we have the opportunity for you to be a member partner. And what that means is you can align with us. We will help lift you up as an organization. And then we ask that a small piece comes back through sales to support our mission. And so it becomes an ecosystem. And a very real, tangible piece of that is one of our founding members, Jill Angelo, was connected to a venture capitalist through us. And because of that relationship, she has now gotten funded. And we are now collaborating together. And so you can see it's an ecosystem. And so we would ask that if you are a leader, and if you're a male leader that has done something extraordinary and has the numbers to prove it, we do want to see the numbers. We would invite you to come and tell your story about how you're helping women at all levels in your organization rise. So Nancy, other ideas?
Yeah, just a couple of thoughts. And I love the question about how do you bring your superpowers to create impact? Again, we have been so fortunate to have so many amazing people that we've connected with. And through them, as Mim said, everybody has a story. But we've also been able to bring those rich stories to the table, literally to a table, have an event where we have a round table and we have a discussion and other people come to the meeting to really listen and engage in what's happening. And so we get into these really rich, deep conversations and people really don't want to go home. And it's through that I think the inspiration is created because they are excited in sharing part of their superpower, who they are, because it's through honest, real, rich conversation that I think a lot of this has taken root. And we have done this, it's very grassroots. And now we're getting to the point where there's so much happening and we're really pushing ahead that that's kind of the fuel that drives our superpowers to keep us excited and keep us going.
I love that. I love that. Thank you both so much for sharing that with us. So one of the things that I always ask my guests is basically the whole premise of this conversation, which is about Be the Change. So before we start to wind down, which I'm already sad about, Nancy, I'll actually start with you first. What does Be the Change mean to you, and how are you actively being the change through GW4W?
Wow, that's a great question, Lynette. And to me, it's sort of about walk your talk. For those of you that have heard that expression, it's really about, if I want something to happen in the world, I need to be able to role model that, to demonstrate it, to step into my own superpower, to really step up to hear my highest calling. And that's really why I jumped in when Mim and I talked about GW4W a while ago. I said, let's do it. Let's make it happen, because who else is going to do it if we don't do it? And now's the time. It just felt right. It just felt as if there was no question in my body that said this needed to happen. And so for me, and for my guidance or advice to others who are thinking about being the change, find out what lights you on fire. Check in with your body and your mind and your heart and your soul and say, does this really resonate with me? And I know for me, I've had plenty of situations and jobs where I just was not in my best. I wasn't in my best. I wasn't in my highest self. And when I do this work with GW4W, I'm energized by it. I work probably harder than I've ever worked anywhere in my life. It's sort of nonstop, and I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about it. So it's sort of like being a business owner, an entrepreneur, and kind of birthing my own sort of startup is really what it feels like in many ways. And to be the change is to really be in that space all the time of creating and listening and hearing and shifting and changing and growing an organization, just like it's a business.
Awesome.
100%. This idea of change, I think when we talk about it, usually you see the magic wand, when we talk about this on television, or everybody wants this, but the reality of change is that it is taking a step forward as often as you possibly can. Once in a while you take a step back, but when you stand together, and this gets back to the connectivity, it's Nancy and I talking on a regular basis. It's the bigger team that we have. This isn't just two people. This is this network of our board members, our advisory board members, and we are a nonprofit 501(c)(3). It was taking the time to be intentional. Like, if you're going to do good, it's great to think about that, but there is some strategy that has to be a part of this. And so we can have a great vision, but if we don't have a plan, and if we don't attack it, that's why we have our bylaws, and we did all of the maybe the boring stuff, right? That you usually don't talk about. But when you can build that foundation, and when you can build connections with other like-minded leaders that also have the same kind of passion, drive. I mean, a great example is that when we were up in Boston just last month, and I had full disclosure, I'm walking around in a sprained ankle, and Nancy had flown in, and so we're trying to get this done, and it was a beautiful venue, and we had a wonderful time, and people had chair massage and could walk by the beach and got great content, and it was a really good event. But I think that the bigger story for me is that we get to the end of the event, and we're networking, and the women that are part of our organization, and these are CEOs, these are powerful women, went and were cleaning up stuff behind us. We didn't even know. And we turned around, and all of this was like, oh no, here, let me go get your car. Let us do this. You talk about walking the talk. I mean, that to me just exemplifies exactly what we're about. And that happens on phone calls. I'll do this. Let me call this person. Let's get together here. Hey, I have a great idea for you. You do more good together. You can create positive change when you have not just the passion, but the ability to say we've got to have a plan, and we've got to have a real, real idea of where we want to go with this. And because of these collective voices, it is put this on steroids. And so we call our events accelerators because we truly believe we can accelerate closing this gender gap. It's not going to happen overnight, but by doing this together and by bringing together amazing voices and great wisdom, we can do this. We can do this for that little 6-year-old girl that, many that are in many of our lives. And that's the legacy that we can leave behind for the next generation, and they can take it even further.
Awesome. I love that. And it was perfect that you were talking about the next generation, because there are, a lot of the people in my network are millennials like myself. Mm-hmm. And as you know, we're a pretty large group.
You are.
So there's the older millennials like myself, and there's the younger millennials, and then the next generation under that, and they're watching this and they're like, you know what, I want to be a change, and I have this great vision. And I love that you were talking about, yes, it's great to have the vision. Start with the vision, start with the dream, but you also need the plan and you need to be strategic. So before we end this awesome, amazing interview, which I'm super grateful for, could you leave us with one actionable piece of advice that you could give to that younger generation who they would love to do like you did, start a nonprofit to help bridge a gender gap or equity gap, or whatever cause that's called, calling to their heart?
So, Lynette, I'll start. One thing that I've already seen with millennials and I love, and just about every millennial I know is really good at this, and that is really building up a strong network of people that you feel you want in your life because they're good they're good as guides or give proper guidance or advisement or whatever. And I think having that sort of mentorship or advisement or relationships and networks, it's the same as for me though. As a non-millennial, it's what I've done. My whole career was about networking and partnerships and relationships. And that's one thing that I don't think will ever change. I think for anybody that wants to start a business or a movement or anything that's important to them, they need to have good people around them. And I think that's what we've done through GW4W too, is to build this model with guidance and advisement from people that we trust and respect.
Very much so. I think the practical advice that I would give is, if you don't have an accounting background and you're supposed to be leading the organization, it's probably a good idea. And I know this sounds like the boring stuff, but you will need to understand some of those pieces. And, you were saying it's great to have a vision, but businesses that succeed, there are foundational pieces that you should have in place. So to Nancy's point, you want mentors. And then when you understand those gaps, understand what your strengths are. So go take Gallup Strength Finders, go do something that's validated so that you as a leader, you're very clear about who am I, what do I bring to the table, what lights me up. Now, if I'm the one leading this, who are the other people I need to have around me? Like, again, it gets back to that strategy piece. Well, I don't do this well, so I need to bring in X, Y, and Z. Do I actually have the core team of people around me so that we can move forward? Because I think anybody that has studied business or, organizations that are successful, it's never one person. It's never one person. And the best leaders understand that you will move forward when you have the right team. And that's how you win in the most positive way. That's how everybody wins. And just be clear about also honoring your own health and well-being, because any new journey, new vision is very tough, as Nancy pointed out. Like, it's not for the faint-hearted. It's much needed. But realistically, you have to be able to take care of yourself so that you can get through the tough times. And, that does mean the very basics: get enough sleep, eat decently, move, make sure you have a good social connection, even beyond those business contacts. Who are the people there that when you're having a really bad day, and you will, it's okay, everybody goes through it. Who can you call up and get you through that so that you can move forward? Those things will help you do a better job and move you forward faster.
Love it. Love it. You know, that ending just kind of reminded me of one of my models, which is love yourself, love your business. So
Wise words from a wise woman.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, Mim Nancy, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time out to do this interview and join me for my birthday celebration on this Be the Change series this year. So thank you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you. And happy birthday. Many more.
Thank you. And the same to you. I know your birthday's actually tomorrow.
It is.
So much to celebrate.
Yes. Yes. Again, so everyone, I hope you enjoyed this and got some amazing takeaways. I know I sure did. So thank you so much for tuning in. Until the next time, peace, love, and wellness. Take care, everybody. Take care, Mim and Nancy.
You too.